Hello, everyone. Welcome to Orange and Brew, the podcast where we married our two favorite pastimes, the Denver Broncos and beer. I am JT Matthews at JTMatthews01 on Twitter, and I'm here with the illustrious Dr. Nicholas Manning, if you would rather, at DR_N_Manning on Twitter. And unfortunately, our other host, John, is not able to be here today, but we are going to be back with you next Thursday. And unfortunately, we're not live today. Again, life happens. But we will be live next Thursday, the whole crew, and we'll be ready to break down some Broncos talk. Doc, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. We are not live because I got an important work function tomorrow, supporting adults with disabilities, and excited about that activity. It's 90s. All of a sudden it's hot. People complaining it's hot. Can't make people happy. Spent some time at the pool yesterday. Got that mocha color going. That's nice. So yeah, you know what?
A nice contrast to my pasty white. So
that is true, but I won't say it. I'll just say it after you say it.
It's okay.
And then have a key.
I'm also wearing neon and white, so that doesn't help.
That is true. We have a key game today. For the Little Bananas T-ball team.
It's going to be
both our children are on. The opportunity to get out there and put a stranglehold on first place.
That's right.
And we expect to go do it.
We're going to do it. And it's their last. I don't know. Is it the last game?
No,
they got a few more, right?
Maybe got another one.
Yeah, we got a few more, but soon they'll be moving up to coach pitch. So it's the last hurrah for T-ball. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Kids are growing up.
Yeah, we still got ones younger than those, so we'll be all right for a minute.
That's true.
Oh, well, let's jump into some Broncos talk because we are on a ticking clock. I think first and foremost, we'll talk about the article that came out from ESPN's own Jeremy Fowler about the top 10 cornerbacks in the NFL. And kindly, number one was Pat Surtain. First, I'll ask the obvious question. Do you think that is an appropriate ranking for Pat Surtain at this point in his career? And B, if not, where should he rank?
That's a mighty fine question. I think, it's interesting. So I read the annual magazines, sports magazines all the time. That's those are my people magazines, all that kind of stuff. And a few of them have that kind of ranking. So one that I really like is Lindy's Sports. And that was released, I don't know, a month ago. And Pat Surtain was number one in that as well. So I think so. I think cornerback is always what's your flavor? Like your cup of tea? Are you a zone? Are you three deep, old school kind of Seattle defense? Are you man to man? Are you bump and run? Are you, what's your type? So kind of the top 3 to 5 usually could be pretty interchangeable. That said, Pat Surtain's 6'2", all of 205. He's a phenomenal tackler. Plays with really wonderful technique. I don't know how many penalties off the top of my head he has had in his career, but probably not many, which means that he's not a guy that uses his hands.
I would guess
not too handsy, but is definitely a guy when the ball's in the air and he has an opportunity to come down. Like Richard Franklin, right? The ball's up there. Richard Franklin gonna come down with it.
Yeah.
And I think that just provides the some context. There was 2 years ago, Teddy Bridgewater year, he shut everyone down, right? Jamar Chase was obsolete. I mean, it was phenomenal. The only time that he really struggled last year, I think, was some leverage coverage plays in that second Las Vegas game. Devontae Adams is the best route runner, or one of the best route runners in football. Right. In a league that's geared towards receiver. So I take that with a grain of salt. I really like Sauce Gardner. I'm a Sauce Gardner guy in terms of I like him. I think he's way handsy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got away with a lot of stuff last year that he shouldn't. Broncos game was a prime example of that. He draped over Cortland Sutton in 2 straight possessions and didn't get called, which is shocking for a rookie. That said, he plays with good attitude and showed to be able to step in and be a key contributor for that organization. So I think he is. He would be the guy if I were to start a franchise and the secondary was a focus. He would be the first player I'd take.
Yeah. I'll clarify, because I did say Jeremy Fowler wrote this piece, but it was ranked by executives, players, scouts, and coaches. So it's not just one man's opinion. This is kind of an aggregate opinion of people who are in the league and in the business. So I think it's telling. I think in a lot of ways that your top 2 are Pat Surtain and Sauce Gardner. Both young, really young in their career guys. I don't know if that's an indictment on the rest of the corners in the league, or if it's more just like these 2 guys hit and they're playing lights out from the get-go, and we just project them to have great careers, ahead of them, making plays and just being lockdown guys. I don't know. What's your take on that? Because I know there's some tenured guys on here. We're talking guys like Jalen Ramsey, Jair Alexander, Marlon Humphrey, Darius Slay. These are guys that have more tenure, have done more in their careers, but are further down the list.
Yeah, I think maybe the only one is Jalen Ramsey. I think he has been that guy year in and year out. Outside of really the Super Bowl, where I think the Bengals kind of got, had his number.
Yeah.
He tackles. He plays inside outside for a big corner too. Darius Slay, I think, is a really good player. I don't think he's in that tier. So I think for me, it's those guys. Xavier Howard was a guy that I would have put in there. I think he had a disappointing year last year, which happens when you get a ton of minutes.
Yeah, he was in the honorable mentions group.
Yeah. So again, going back to it's your flavor of player, but I think players and execs know. I mean, I think he was a top 10 quarterback by mid-year his rookie year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think that's true.
Last year, I think just built on it for sure.
I think we've seen enough, I don't think that there's going to be regression at this point. I think you can probably say, all right, he's a rookie. He's a really talented rookie that has a future ahead of him, but players don't know him necessarily. But now he's put it together for multiple campaigns, and he looks like the same guy. He looks like a guy who wants to go out there, who competes, who, like you said, has a diverse skill set. He's not just a coverage guy. He can tackle. He can make plays if he's given the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an issue with him being ranked here. And I thought maybe I would a little bit, just because I think that your body of work matters. And I think some of those guys below them, like you said, like Jalen Ramsey is a good example, right? Has a strong body of work and has been doing it for longer. I don't know, though. I think Surtain's upside, I mean, we're already comparing him in Denver, at least, to the best corner in history of the Broncos and Champ Bailey, and how many similarities there are between the two. And we're talking about guys that are, Hall of Fame guys in comparison. So is it a little premature? Maybe. But if we're talking about guys you want to build around, I mean, Surtain is high on that list, if not at the top, especially if we're talking defensive players specifically. Obviously, quarterbacks probably hold more value, but Surtain would never be a bad pick for that.
No, he is 23. He just turned 23. So in April, just turned. So again, the upside part is there. He's already 2 years in and among the best at his position, and has been. He has 6 interceptions in 2 years, 1 for a pick 6 and a forced fumble. He's a guy that doesn't miss tackles. Oftentimes gets the best receiver on the other team, and they really don't throw at him much. So last year, I think, was probably the most successful they had in terms of last 2 years. Passer rating of 82.6, which in today's NFL is about where Russell Wilson's passer rating was, if I recall. So not good. Not good at all, really. Giving up less than 60% of completions his way. He was only targeted 77 times last year, to giving up 45 completions with 2 interceptions. It's just, he's a guy that kind of does it all. So could arguments be made for the other guys? Sure. I could absolutely see that. But I feel really confident that if I were to pick, he'd be the guy that I would get. So, first team All Pros, Associated Press, Pro Football Writers, Pro Football Focus, etc. So, it's a guy at 6'2", 208, 4.42 speed, 39-inch vert. There's not much that he can't do on a football field. Yep. So, and it has the technique to back it up. He's been a phenomenal player that feels like he has been at the position longer than he has. Mm-hmm. And I think that says a ton.
Yeah. I mean, he came in feeling like a veteran, right? Like even as a rookie, you felt like this guy's poised and professional and goes out there and does his job, and you don't really hear anything from him, which is exactly what you want from a talented rookie. The last thing I'll say about it is that I think that even what he's doing is a little understated, maybe even. I mean, being ranked first probably isn't all that understated, but I mean, he's been doing this with, a pass rush that has been not an elite group of pass rushers, right? Our quarterbacks at times are having a lot of time to sit back there and get comfortable in the pocket and pick our defenses apart. I think we saw that with Devontae Adams last year. We've seen that with a number of guys over the years. It's impressive that those numbers are still popping at that rate with, no pass rush to speak of.
Yeah, he's committed five penalties in 2 seasons for a total of 67 yards. And 36 of those yards were his first game, or in the second game against Jacksonville last year. Okay. So since then, he's given up 4 penalties for 31 yards, which for a corner, especially with defensive pass interference as a spot foul, that ain't much.
No,
that ain't much at all.
He's not hurting you for sure. Mm-hmm. On that side of things. Well, good. I'm glad we both agree then. Pat Surtain, number 1, remains number 1 in our hearts and minds, and in the hearts and minds of executives and players around the league. So that's always exciting for the Broncos to take a top spot somewhere. We're going to shift gears and talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame nominations that were just announced not too long ago. And there are, I think it says 11 former Broncos that are in line to potentially get chosen to be in the Hall of Fame. Let me read the names off for you, and then we'll kind of break it down a little bit. All right. Mm-hmm. We got Rod Smith, Tom Nalen, Jason Elam, Wes Welker, Mark Schlereth, Neil Smith, DeMarcus Ware, Al Wilson, Dre Bly, Simeon Rice, and Seth Joyner. Good players, all good players. Some of them, were Broncos. I don't know that they would go in as Broncos. Sure. Wes Welker's one for sure that probably wouldn't. DeMarcus Ware may or may not. I mean, that would be interesting to see how that would swing. Just what's your knee-jerk reaction to those guys? Anyone that you feel like is missing right off the bat, or do you think that that's probably the best of the batch?
Oh yeah,
I think so. This ship has sailed a little bit on some of those older guys, the Gradishars of the world. Guys like that.
Yeah, because they go into the after 15 years, you go to the Veterans Committee,
right?
I think that those are both players that need to be in the Hall of Fame. Randy Gradishar, was Mike Singletary before Mike Singletary, right? Like there's just, he was everything. And then I was fortunate enough a little bit to watch Carl Mecklenburg play. Mecklenburg was, could have been an all-pro at all 7 of the front 7 positions, including nose tackle for a guy that was like 235 pounds. And I think, his flexibility in being able to move around on defense did him a disservice when it comes to stat padding, like getting recognition for one role. One guy that I think in that group that really deserves to be in, I'll give you one that deserves to be in, one that I think is missing.
Okay.
And I do think Rod Smith does, and I didn't think so for a while. And here's why I do. I think his stats are relative to a ton of the receivers that are currently in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So, and I think that the fact that he did so much with, essentially with little, right? In fanfare, he was a quarterback at a small school in Missouri,
right?
And came in, was on the practice squad, special teamer, to compile the amount of stats, and in awards, 2 Super Bowl rings, the best, one of the best receiving threats on an all-time offense. To me, I think says a ton.
Yeah.
I really think that it does. And he is a guy that I believe should have more of an opportunity to be there. He was a complete receiver, was a guy that blocked, got stuff dirty, was never a me guy. And I think a lot of that gets lost quite a bit. So not only the statistics that he put up, but what he had to do to get the opportunity in the first place. I think that part gets lost quite a bit.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I think it's easy to acknowledge him as a Broncos all-time great. That's one thing. And to take that jump to the Hall of Fame, I think there's a case for it. I don't know that it's a slam dunk. It's probably one that would be somewhat contested. But this is a guy that still leads the Broncos in receiving, however many years later, was part of some of the best Super Bowl teams in the last, however many years. And it was a big part of their success, as an organization in general. I think if you look at his contribution to the game, if you look at his contribution to his team, it may not be as well known or widespread because he was a career guy with a single team, which doesn't really happen all that much anymore. But I think he's definitely deserved. He at least deserves to be knocking on the door, right? And then the committee has to decide whether he leaps over that hurdle or not, or whether they open the door for him. But I have no problem if he was to make it. I would be obviously, as a Broncos fan, we'd all be happy, but it would be well deserved. It wouldn't feel cheap. It wouldn't feel unearned. It's probably a little bit of a long time coming for him. Who do you feel like missed? You said you had one that you felt like missed?
I've said this for a while. I think Tom Nalen is a guy that I think should have gotten much more Hall of Fame consideration. For a better part of a decade, he was the best center in football.
Yep.
If not the best, one of the best. 5-time Pro Bowler. I think 3-time All-Pro. Got Comeback Player of the Year one year as a center. And I think anytime that you win one of those kind of awards as an offensive lineman, that's pretty phenomenal. He played from 95 to 2007 and had 27 total penalties.
Wow. That's pretty incredible.
44 penalties. 27 holding, 6 false starts, 7 declined or offset. So, that's the guy was a tank, and really outside of the 2002 season where he got hurt, the next season he won Comeback Player of the Year. and his final season at age 36, the guy started and played all of the games. And I think the first season he was on the practice squad. So, you even kind of missed an opportunity there to get, plus just the zone success was, had a ton to do with him. The 1,000-yard rushers all over the place, the continuity in being able to plug in new left guard, new right guard year after year, and that offensive line not missing a beat. And again, it's a ton to do with Mike Shanahan and a ton to do with Alex Gibbs. But I don't think that you can understate the importance of Tom Nalen. So he's the guy that I think should get more consideration. He doesn't. But to me, I think he is a Hall of Famer in my book. I think he's a phenomenal player that hopefully at some point will get that due.
Yeah, I mean, you look at I've pulled up the top 10 centers of all time. I mean, we're talking pretty comparable numbers. Some of them are a little bit higher. Darmonte Dawson had 7 Pro Bowls, 6 All-Pro. But there's centers aren't often considered probably very strongly for the Hall of Fame, or at least they might be in the mix, but they're not often elevated to that next level of conversation because of it. It's just hard to quantify everything that they do for their team on the field. And probably, if you're talking about positional value, centers are not, top 5 probably. So I think the other guys that tend to get elevated above them are pass rushers, cornerbacks, quarterbacks, wide receivers, guys that play skill positions that impact the game more obviously than guys like Nalen. But his numbers are comparable to Hall of Fame guys, and I think that I'm with you. I mean, I miss the Tom Nalen kind of, mold of player, the guy who, despises talking to the media, that's just there to work and do his job at a high level. I'm sure the media doesn't love it or didn't love it at the time. But like, there's something so endearing about a guy like that on your team that is just like, I'm here to work. I'm here to get the job done. I want to win. Forget all you guys and your narratives, your false narratives, your rumor mongering. Like, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to get these guys in line behind me that are on my line with me. And we're going to go to work and we're going to ignore the noise. Leadership, I think, was something huge he brought to that team. He may not have been the most unspoken leader, or the most outspoken leader, but I think the stuff he did probably went really well quietly behind the scenes. And so I would make a strong push for Nalen. He's probably historically one of my favorite Broncos. He was on the radio for a short amount of time. I loved listening to him. He's an interesting.
He's phenomenal. He's
an interesting dude.
Yeah, I love Tommy. Anytime Tommy has been on, I have listened. He's great. I looked at this metric on it's a leaders index, the NFL approximate value career leaders from from Pro Football Reference.
Okay.
And Tom Nalen, let me go find him again. He's for a center in the overall value. It's comparable to he's above Jim Kelly. He is above like several players of that ilk, and he's a center. And I think being able to look at what he's been able to do over time, because do I recall, is Jeff Saturday in the Hall of Fame? Did he get in?
I don't know. I don't think he got. I don't think so.
But guys like Darmonte Dawson, guys like that, I think he's very comparable to some of the guys who are in now, and I think he's someone that probably deserves those dues. And, I think hopefully someday he'll get those.
I mean, DeMarcus Ware has to be the slam dunk, right? Like, he's going to get in there.
Yeah.
It probably won't take very long. It may not take past this year. He's 9th all-time sack leader. He
just got in last year.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, my
bad. They made him do the 1 year wait.
Oh, that's right.
People can't have nice things.
That's right. My bad. What about Al Wilson? That one intrigues me a little bit. Any feelings on Al Wilson? I mean, obviously, another beloved Denver Bronco, and the position he plays has lost value probably over the years, but was a pretty valuable position at the time, and he was a pretty dominant force at that position. What's your overall thoughts on him being in the mix there?
I love Al Wilson. I think part of the issue is I don't even believe he's in the Ring of Fame. So because of that, I think that probably excludes him from having the opportunity to do that. What's interesting, right? And so he retired at 29, the neck injury, if I recall. 2-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler. He was that dude. Set the tone. Was a phenomenal asset to the locker room. I think, the Broncos had been searching to replace Al Wilson since then, which is pretty crazy, right? Trying to find the emotional leader for your defense. And they really didn't get that kind of play again until 2015. And so that to me, I think says a ton. He's was a really good player. I think he has to get some dues within the building before he can get that. So hopefully some of those things occur soon.
I love the man. He was a beast. He was ferocious out there on the field, and like you said, he is one of the more vocal leaders on that defensive unit. A little bit of, I think if you wanted to do some comparisons, there's a lot of guys that were like that, but I mean Ray Lewis is one that comes to mind. They're kind of that same ilk, right? These vocal guys that get their guys ready to play, are pumped up, and play with the level of violence that a lot of guys don't play with. I don't see it happening probably this year. Like you said, he probably needs to get a little more props from inside the building. And it's hard, I think, when guys have shortened careers, how to equate that, into overall success. I mean, we saw with Terrell Davis a little bit, like, how do we kind of quantify all of this information? Obviously when he played, he was a monster, one of the best running backs ever. But injuries take their toll, and careers are shortened by things like that. I think probably for the running back position, it was probably a little easier to overlook because just the shelf life of running backs in general is not real high. So I'll be interested to see if that ever comes to fruition for Al. I think he deserves it. I think Broncos fans feel that way. It's just a matter of the committee at large deciding whether he deserves to be in the mix or not. But to get a nomination is pretty fantastic regardless. Anyone else on this list that you want to speak to? I think, like we said, there's some guys like Welker, Bly, Rice that were Broncos for a short amount of time, but aren't really considered Broncos by the end of their career. But doesn't mean they don't deserve to be in there. Anyone that jumps out in that group?
I love Simeon Rice. That dude was kind of Von Miller-ish before Von Miller.
Yeah.
Real nice speed rusher. But no, I think really the sad part is like Dan Reeves and Mike Shanahan are going to compete with each other in the contributors portion. Both of them deserve to be there, in my opinion. Dan Reeves, the amount of wins, playoff appearances, Super Bowl appearances as a coach, I think speaks volumes. And then, Mike Shanahan winning 2 Super Bowls. I don't think that there's another coach that's won 2 Super Bowls that's not in the Hall of Fame. And the architect of the zone scheme, which is still transcendent today, is a shame.
It is a shame. Hopefully we get them soon.
Yep.
I didn't see anyone else that really jumped off the page to me. I think a guy like Wes Welker will get there. Obviously, he'll be a Patriot when he enters. Remember,
the good part about the NFL is they don't wear hats like in Major League Baseball.
That's true.
Really, like, you can claim whoever you want. Really,
that's true. But all guys are deserving. Congrats to them for at least being nominated.
They're crazy.
Whether it goes their way or not, they're beloved in this state, and states in this region in general. So they'll always have a place in the hearts of the fans and in NFL history. So that's the most important thing at the end of the day. But to give those guys their due, they deserve to be in there too. So hopefully, with some time, we see them all find their places in the Hall of Fame. Doc, we don't have beer time today. I did a bad job. I didn't go buy beer. I've been working, but you're sipping something, right?
I'm gonna. Yep, got the Great Divide Titan. IPA.
It's a solid one.
Yeah,
I love me some Great Divide.
Yep, IPA. So I'm pretty pumped up about it. Forget all of the good stuff. Where's ABV? 7.1.
That's solid. That's solid.
So I'm gonna go ahead and sip on this bad boy while we continue to chat.
Yep. I've had some beer lately, some good beers. I can't remember all of them. I had a nice blackberry sour the other day that was really nice, but I can't remember exactly. I got it from my nephew who had bought a 6-pack, and I snagged one. It was pretty good.
Don't worry, his nephew is of age.
Yeah, yes, my nephew is.
His nephew's like me, like my kids. His nephew, his brother's kid. Just to make sure that we're clear.
Yeah, no, not my Nick nephew is my older brother, my nephew.
He's not. Yeah, he didn't send a 6-year-old in to go get him.
He's like 30, so he'd probably be mad that I said 30 because he's only 29, but he'll deal with it. Also want to shout out Wiley Roots Brewing in Greeley. I don't know if many people get up to Greeley. I get up there about once a month to visit friends and do some other podcast recording. Wiley Roots is delicious. They have all sorts of beers. My favorite thing is they do like these beer slushies. So perfect for summer. If you want to get up there, go get a beer slushie because there's nothing wrong with that. It's refreshing. It's delicious. And they do all sorts of crazy, like experimental things. So there's good beer. There's like your standard beers. They also have soft serve ice cream, which is exciting. So it's just a good summer spot if you're ever up in northern Colorado and looking for good beer. Wiley Roots is one of those places. Outside of that, let's jump into our next topic. We are going to do another draft, another snake style draft, and we are going to draft former Broncos that we would like to see join this roster. If we had the ability to jump in a time machine, snag these guys, throw them out there on this current Broncos roster, who would we take and why? I think it's been pretty fun to just think about. I'll be interested to see how aligned we are or how maybe we're way off from one another, which is always exciting too. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? I think I went
just
first.
Make sure we said so. Snake draft. And
Yes.
Are we doing 5? 3?
5. We're doing 5. Yep.
So this roster, adding old school Broncos, former players to this roster to make a mega team.
A mega team. Yeah, I love it. How do you want to do? You want to go first? You want me to go first? I think you went first. I think I went first last time.
Did you?
I don't know. To be honest, that's what I seem to remember. But I don't know. How about you go first?
All right.
All right.
I'll go first. I'm going to see. Let's see. Who would I want to? I believe in Russ. So I'm going to go ahead and let John stay retired.
Okay.
Because he deserves it.
Of course.
I think that this team, I've said it before, say it again, Dalvin Cook would be phenomenal. That would be better. Terrell freaking Davis.
Terrell Davis.
TD.
It's a good pick.
You're coming to the squad, baby.
It's a good pick. I mean, we spoke a little bit about him in our last topic, but obviously the best running back, pretty much unequivocally the best running back in Broncos history. I mean, I think Floyd Little's maybe the only other one that has any shot of being in that conversation.
Yeah, Floyd's nice. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, Floyd was nice. And I think we remember guys fondly, but maybe not as Broncos. I got like Portis, like Clinton Portis, I think was a really nice player for us. But at the end of the day, we traded him for someone who I might draft. I guess we'll see. I'm gonna go. It's always tempting to go quarterback, always, and there's two pretty good ones to choose from. I don't think I'm gonna go that direction though, and I'm gonna grab someone we talked about recently, and Tom Nalen.
Dang it.
Haha, got you. I mean,
Nice.
if you're thinking about this roster as constructed, center is a big question mark. We want Kush to succeed. I don't know that many people are optimistic that he will be successful, especially after the season he had last year that was pretty lackluster. But obviously everyone's rooting for the guy, or at least the real ones are rooting for the guy to be successful, because I think that that's our best trajectory forward.
Yeah.
But it's also a big if. If Kush shows up, then we might be in good shape. There's no if with Tom Nalen. You plug him in, he does his job, he beats people up, he controls the game. He's just one of a kind. He's a guy that you can't overlook, and a nominee for the Hall of Fame. So I mean, clearly a superior player.
I like it.
I'm glad you're mad about it, to be honest.
Like it. If you plugged him in on that offensive line, I'd go to sleep. Just suck my thumb and go to
bed. It would be so nice. It would be so nice.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta go back to backs here. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna go with someone I didn't think I was gonna go with.
Ooh, okay.
But the more I think about it, the more it still makes sense. I'm gonna go with Shannon Sharpe. I got to go Sharpie. Sharpie is my guy. Obviously he's everyone's guy in Denver. But as much as I love Greg Dulcich and think he will be good this year, Sharpie was different. Sharpie was different on an offense that, in my opinion, feels like it lacks a little bit of leadership. A guy like Shannon Sharpe is a voice, a voice on a team that really doesn't have much of an offensive voice, at least at the moment. I think people, I don't know, the feeling on Russ is so mixed. I think he can be a voice. I think he is a voice at times. I don't know that he's established himself as that kind of leader for this team. So just from a leadership perspective, I think Sharpie just brings a huge amount of positive, and then he just balls out on top of it. He's one of the best tight ends of all time. Do I like Dulcich? Yeah. Would I take Shannon Sharpe over Dulcich? Yeah. And so I just have to kind of, it feels funny to draft a center and then a tight end, because you're not talking about positions necessarily of great value, but those guys are one of a kind at their position, and so I felt like it was the appropriate approach.
That was good. I like it. All right. Well,
good. That means if you like it, then I did a good job.
You did. Yeah. Those are both guys that were going to be on my draftable list. I'm going to go Champ. I'm going to go with the layup here.
Okay. It hurts me. He's like my favorite Bronco of all time.
You get Champ 1.0 and 2.0. And Surtain. Lockdown corners, if I were to say there were any. And then I'm going to go ahead and jump to my next pick. I think that adding an All-Pro Hall of Fame left tackle would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add Gary Zimmerman to this offensive line.
I wondered if it was going to be Clady for a second.
I was going to go Clady. However, Zim is a Hall of Famer. If I were to give dues to who that might be. So I think Gary Zimmerman. Love Bowlesy.
Yeah.
But he's not a Hall of Famer.
Right. It's kind of, that's kind of the bar we've set, which is like, we love Dulcich, not a Hall of Famer.
Not a Hall of Famer.
we love.
And you know what, Dulcie, you might still run some 12 personnel. You're going to need all of the, all of the tight ends you might need.
Yeah. All right. That puts me back on the clock. I don't want to talk too much because I don't want to give much away. Not that I think there's probably anyone on my list that's not on yours, except for one that may not be on your list. And you might think is weird, but I'm going to save it for my last pick, because unless you pick it, which would be wild. All right, I'm going to go. I want to go with. Is it within the bounds of this game to select Von Miller?
Because he was still active,
You didn't put him on the list?
Yeah.
All right, I'll keep him off. That's fair. I'm going to go Trevor Price then.
Dang, that's a good one.
We need some beef, man.
Yep.
We need a dominant guy that's going to anchor this line. I think that's still a big position of concern for a lot of Broncos fans, is that interior line. And Trevor Price is just maybe one of the strongest players I've seen. Just a bulldog, just tenacious, a guy that you knew you would plug in there and would get the job done. Won multiple Super Bowls. Won with Baltimore as well, if I'm remembering correctly. Just a guy that contributes to winning. He puts pressure on the quarterback. He eats up talented running backs. He does a little bit of everything. And so it's something that I think a dynamic playmaker that this team hopefully will find, but hasn't appeared to have found yet. So Trevor Price is my guy.
I like that. That's good.
I'm going to follow that up with... Oh, man. It is tempting to still pick a quarterback. I might do it. I'm between two. I got to go John Elway. I just got to. I like Russ. I think he can be successful. At the end of the day, I hope he's very successful here. But John Elway's John Elway. John Elway's John Elway. And there's probably no other player that you would consider putting over him on the Colorado sports Mount Rushmore, so to speak. As far as football goes, and really as far as any sport, maybe Nikola Jokic is knocking on the door just because of his recent success, and he is one of the best player in the NBA right now. But if you talk about just value to this city, someone that played his whole career in one place with was dedicated to this team and loved this team, and even after retiring still stayed a part of this team for a long time, and in his own way is still involved a little bit. I don't think that there's anyone on my list that I felt like I could pick over John Elway, even from a level of need. I think that he was probably the next one to go for me.
I mean, that's smart.
You can't go wrong, right?
No.
And especially with my fourth pick, that's pretty good. I'll take
that. Not bad. That's not bad. Well, I was trying to pull the old fast one on you and say quarterback, and hoping that I was going to have. So
I appreciate the gamesmanship. I do.
Yep. So Peyton, why don't you go ahead and come to the squad?
All right. That makes sense.
So we got both of the Hall of Fame quarterbacks here on the roster. And then with my
just in case of injury, right? If someone gets hurt,
I mean,
we got someone in the wings.
Yep. I mean, it's
actually, this is not a team draft. This is an independent draft. This is me versus you.
That's right.
So
yeah,
Peyton's on your squad. John's on my squad.
Yeah, that's true. Russ is a really nice backup for both of our teams.
Great backup. Very, very overpaid backup.
Very overpaid. So, I think looking at my squad, a very offensive focus. So I got TD, got Champ, got Zim, got Peyton. I'm going to go a little need here.
Okay.
A little need. I think essentially really our pass rush just hasn't been that good. Hasn't been that good. It would be nice to be able to get, to get a better player in there. And for me, that's going to be DeMarcus Ware. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Waresy to the squad. So I don't want to be that guy, but I did draft 5 Hall of Famers.
That's fair.
Just saying.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Nalen's not a Hall of Famer yet.
Nope, that's true. Not yet.
But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yep.
Oh, I'm thinking. I do have one that is a little out of left field that I might go with. I think we got to do some honorable mentions too when we're done, because it just feels like there's so many guys to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pick someone that is nasty, that has attitude.
Oh, get him.
That tears people up. And I don't know if we're thinking of the same person.
Maybe.
There's 2 that I can think of right off the top of my head.
Yep.
And the one I'm going to choose is Lyle Alzado.
Yep. That's what I was thinking.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it would be Romanowski or Alzado.
That was the B when you were like, I don't know if you're thinking. I was like, maybe it's Romo.
Yeah. No, I went Alzado first. Just, man, talk about a bold, like, talk about a guy that you don't want to mess with, like, physical, beyond physical. I mean, probably today would be considered dirty pretty easily. But a guy that just wanted to win every single down, who wanted to impose his will on every single down, was a good pass rusher, was a strong guy, it made plays on the field. Guys, he had a reputation, man. Guys were scared of him. Guys didn't want to go up against him, and I don't blame them. I would run in fear if I was lined up across from him. Just I don't know that he is in the same circles as some of those guys that we drafted ahead of him. I think from a career and skill standpoint, he probably doesn't quite live up to those guys. But man, talk about a guy who changes the tone of a defense, just with his play and his attitude on the field. Something that this defense could use is a little nasty. I think you hate that guy when he's on the other team, but you love that guy when he's on your team. Just like, every enforcer in the NHL, you hate him on everyone else's team, but you love when they throw down for your guys.
Right. Yeah.
Alzado was that guy. And so I may have snuck him in prematurely, but I'm happy with the choice at the end of the day.
No, that's a good one. Interior defense too. I think we've talked about the defensive front, a little concerning. So he hits that. Yep. And given someone, you need a little nasty.
Yep. Need a little nasty. We're going to have to put these up as a poll because I want to know who wins. We didn't do the last one as a poll, but we're doing this one as a poll for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everything's a competition between Nick and I that I always lose, so I need to win something. Any honorable mentions? Anyone that you were close to picking but didn't pick?
Yep. Yeah, I had a couple.
Give me one. I'll give you one, and then we'll go back and forth.
Yeah. So I was gonna go. I was a Rulon Jones fan for a long time.
Okay.
I really liked what he did for the Broncos. A guy that played defensive end, was probably the best defender for a bit right after Gradishar retired.
Yeah.
Him and Mecklenburg really kind of made that group. So he's a guy that I always really liked. Plus, I like the name Rulon. I thought that was pretty phenomenal. Yeah, guy 6'6", 260, career 73 sacks. So, pretty good player. I think would fit well with the NFL today. Was defensive rookie of the year his first season, All Pro twice, Pro Bowl twice. So, pretty good player in his own right.
Yep, I like that. That's a good pick. I had DT high on my list. Obviously, he is no longer with us, unfortunately, tragically. Just a guy that when I think of Broncos, he feels like one of those quintessential Broncos to me, and maybe had a little bit of an up and down career. But the talent was always there. Injuries were a thing. I think we can all acknowledge that they were a thing. But if you're talking about high-end wide receiver talent, I mean, Demaryius Thomas was, maybe one of the higher-end guys that we ever drafted. And I just have such fond memories of DT being here, and he probably was elevated a little bit on my list just because of that. But he'll always be, a Denver Bronco to me. He didn't finish his career here, but he spent the majority of his career here and did things with this team that deserve to be acknowledged. And so DT was one of the real ones for me.
Yeah, he was close to being on this list.
Yeah,
partly because I think we need a guy like that. I stayed away from receivers just because I thought that was a group that we probably didn't need to mess with necessarily. But
yeah, same here.
DT is I think he would be a guy that this team needs right now, right? A guy that can go up and get it, that can be a deep threat, a real number one, hands down, right?
And consistent too, like
ball in his hands.
Yeah, consistent. We haven't seen a ton of consistency from the guys in that room, whether it be due to injury or not. It would be nice to have someone that is just going to be that guy, and you don't have to worry about it and worry about who we're paying and who we're not paying. So yeah, give me one more.
One more. So I'm trying to think about what group, and one player I almost selected for my honorable mention was Jason Elam. We're really short on quality kickers.
That's true.
The roster currently, and he's a guy that has nailed a 63-yard field goal.
That's true.
And I think the all-time leader in points for the Denver Broncos, all-time scorer. So,
and as a Hall of Fame nominee.
Yeah. So I think with all of those things being said, he's a guy that I would want if I were to especially look at needs. I think he fits, and I think he was a good reliable kicker for a really long time.
Yeah, I think it's a good mention. It's not the most exciting mention.
That's why it's honorable.
That's right. That's why it's honorable. I agree. We talked about Gradishar. We talked about Mac. We talked about a lot of these guys. So we didn't talk about Steve Atwater. He was on my short list. Didn't quite make the cut. But a secondary that featured Atwater and Simmons, I think we could make some hay. Just knock some people around a little bit.
Yeah.
Create some turnovers. Love Atwater. And it would be fun just because he's kind of been Justin Simmons' mentor since he's joined this team, and it'd be fun to see prime guys together.
Yeah, it would. It would have been pretty cool.
I want to see Atwater.
He's one of my favorites forever and ever and ever. So I just in the end, what did I think that needs went? It definitely was not in order of guys that I think are
that we love. Yeah,
absolute tanks. So.
How much would you love to see Atwater come downhill at like Derrick Henry though?
Oh my gosh,
it'd be so fun. It'd be a Koye part 2.
Yeah, I think Derrick would. I don't know. He'd be ready for it, man.
I don't think so.
Steve is a different cat, man, and in terms of what he provided, he was good in the back end. Not necessarily a ball hawk because there wasn't a ton of that in yesteryear. That just wasn't, kind of wasn't a thing necessarily. But a guy that made plays. You saw it in the Super Bowls where he was a key contributor to whether that was on blitz, causing fumbles, setting the tone in the back end. I think a lot of that play that got outlawed, he had a lot to do with some of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
That hurt people, and was phenomenal at his job. So I love Steve. I'm glad that he got in the Hall of Fame. I think he needed to be. Him and Dennis Smith were they were that pair, and that's what I grew up with in the back end, and they kind of set the tone for what I think safety should be, and love them both. So that was a good was a good pick.
Good honorable mentions. Nice job. We're going to compete. We're going to see who comes out on top. But until then, we got to go. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate you, as always. Hopefully you found this show fun and interesting. Always feel free to reach out on Twitter, Instagram, at @orange_and_brew. We'll talk beer. We'll talk football. We'll answer questions, whatever you guys want to do. We are down. But thank you again. We appreciate you. Doc, thank you. And we'll do this again soon. But until then, be kind to one another, be safe out there, and go Broncos.
You know what? Go Broncos.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way.